PS5 reveal. That's what we had yesterday. Mark Cerny was on stage and he was presenting his baby, basically. And we saw a lot of details that were really meant for developers and graphs. The presentation wasn't really for the mass market consumer, but we've all been speculating as to the specs of the PS5. Some saying as low as 9 teraflops and some as many as 15, but it looks like 10.3 is the number. Now that's going to go head-to-head in the console space with the Xbox Series X, and that is going to be just a hair over 12 teraflops. So, and those are about round numbers. I guess it's all in how you use it and what kind of games you have. The PlayStation 5 is going to have twice the speed on a brand new SSD. Now you might be wondering, why do I need a hard drive solution in SSD form that's 100 times faster than the hard drive in my PS4 Pro? Well, the reason is it's going to load the next levels, all of the assets of the game. If you die and you respawn, it's going to load you back in just a matter of seconds. In an age of instant gratification and quick movement of information, that SSD is going to fit the bill perfectly. The Xbox Series X is going to be the main competitor in the console space for the high-end graphics, and they are going to have a 1 terabyte SSD that is about half the speed. And the PS5 is going to have a SSD that will be double the speed of the Xbox Series X, as much as 5 gigabytes a second. So that's super quick. From what I've read, the PS4 Pro was like 100 megabytes per second, and now we're talking 5 gigs. So in 0.27 seconds, the PS5 will be able to load the same amount of information as the PS4 Pro did in 20 seconds. So that's an extreme improvement. Now, I don't even think we know what we're looking at. When the PS5 and the Xbox go head-to-head, I don't even think we know. As much as PS5 has been holding back, they've been kind of laying low, and they're not talking too much. And I think it's probably a little bit like all the other times they've competed. What did we have? We had the 2 cameras, and we had it from both companies. One box it with, hey, everybody gets one. The other person said, hey, you can buy the camera, PS4. You can buy the camera if you want. It's the moves. But PS4 went and utilized it to the max. They use it with their VR system. It's a little outdated now, but they used it with VR, and they have move controllers. They had a full, complete system, and it really broke the ice on VR for everyone. It was accessible, and it still is. You can buy it on eBay cheaply used. If you don't have a lot of money, you can buy it new still. And it's just been a way to play high-end toys, basically. Everyone knows about the $3,000 gaming rigs. We know we can spend $2,000 plus $1,000 on a headset and be wowed. A lot of us, it's just not smart money to spend for us. And if there's another solution, there's way more video game players. It's less of a niche. All of video games would be niche if it wasn't for these consoles. So while they say, well, VR is niche and things like that, think about where video games would be without consoles. It would be niche on computers. There would be a lot of computer gamers, but you would have to almost fit a certain type of person. You'd have to be a little bit geeky. You'd have to be able to get in there and open it up, or have a great relationship with Dell and the Alienware series. So I think PS5 is going to be awesome because PS4 broke the mold on so many things. There's like a ship that cuts the water, like an icebreaker, because humanity has a hard time accepting new things sometimes. I think PS4 this generation broke the ice on... Someone broke the ice for them as well, probably starting with the VR, but PS5 really brought it to the masses. So what do they have for us this generation? It could be just as monumental. Granted, their GPU is 10.3 teraflops. Now, I couldn't say only 10.3 because that wouldn't be right. Maybe in 5 years I could say that, but right now I can't say only. And Xbox Series X is going to be about 12. And, it's a little bit sad in a way. I was a little bit disappointed because if you're going to have VR, it's nice to have the most computing power possible. But PS4 and Sony, they've really had a lot of tricks up their sleeves. And I don't know, I kind of trust them to use it correctly. Now, here's one thing that they may be doing that I just came up with this. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's possible that it's going to be a hybrid between a streaming machine and a home console that you load games on, because it has a super fast SSD, and most of our landlines here are pretty quick. So it's possible that they would basically load a smaller version of the game on your system, maybe the first level, but other assets you would bring down temporarily onto the system. You would have kind of like a working RAM on your hard disk, because it's so fast that you could bring down, and it would calculate for a while, but it knows the 3 places you could possibly go. You could go to the next level, you could reset, you could do this or that, but they'll keep that information, and you don't have to download the entire game and have level 9 that you're never going to go to because you don't like the game that much. You're going to play to level 3 and give it up because another game came out that you like a lot more. Now you have all this information on your hard disk that you will never use. So that's a waste. So what they're going to do, I think, is possible. Now I have no reason to think this, but just giving the market trends, I think it could possibly be a hybrid system to bring down information when you need it and zap it in there, because every other part of the system does that. The RAM does that. The CPU does that big time. It moves it around the system bus. You get the information when you need it, and you get the heck out of there. So it's very possible that the 850 gigabyte SSD is going to be more than enough if they tweak it the way that I think they may. The PS5 is 850 gigabytes SSD, and the Xbox Series X is 1 terabyte. The PS5 is going to be much faster in the main processor, the CPU, that does all the triangles and timing and everything and does the main calculation of the buttons. The CPU is going to be 3.5 megahertz, and it's going to be 8-core, 16-thread from AMD, and it's going to be their new architecture, the RDNA 2. So that's really nice. It's quite a bump from the PS4 and the PS4 Pro. It's going to allow for a lot more going on screen and a lot more frames per second. In comparison with the Xbox Series X, their main competitor in the console space, theirs is going to be 3.8, so it's a little bit more, but it may also create more heat and consume more power. Now, the real kicker is the GPUs. They're both going to be 16 gigabytes. Now, I got to tell you about the PS5. The PS5 is going to be 16 gigabytes of DDR6 RAM that's going to be used in their GPU, and that's quite a chunk. If you look at a lot of the GPUs in high-end PCs right now, a lot of them are not, they don't have 16 gigs. I mean, that's just way up there. So they're going to be able to hold a huge world in them. They're going to be able to have a greater diversity of textures in the worlds to make them look more real and less kind of recanned. So that'll be nice. The PS5 will also have an expandable bay for the SSD. You're going to be able to put in a larger SSD if you would like to. It's going to be compatible with standard PC SSDs, so that will mean that you can use approved by PS5. Sony's going to approve them as they come out in the future, that they work with the PS5. They'll test them, and you'll know that it's a good one to get. Now, the Xbox Series X does have an expansion for their hard drive solution as well. They're going to be using smaller memory cards, basically, like no memory card ever before. So that's pretty neat, though, you know, if you have a lot of things mixed around the house, maybe someone would pull it out and accidentally put it in their pocket and you wouldn't see it again. So for that, you would probably want to have a cabinet so it's not real obvious. Actually, it kind of sticks out funny, if you ask me. It's kind of a nice tower. It's a clean look, and then you got this thing sticking out of the back. So, but I guess that's what they decided to do. When you look at the Xbox, you got to wonder if it's running on the ragged edge, though, because they've had hardware problems in the past. Both systems can break down. I actually personally right now I have a PS4 Pro and an Xbox One X, but I've been playing a lot on the PS4 Pro because my Xbox One X is broken. It actually needs the HDMI retimer chip, and I'm going to do a video because I'm going to send it in to have it fixed. There's a person on eBay that has great feedback, and they are fixing them for $60 basically. It's like $45, but you got to ship it in. And it's like $15 or $20. So, and there's a tool you can buy to get it done yourself. It's like $35, $40, but I would hate to screw that up. So if someone's done it before and they know what they're going to be doing and how it's going to work, and maybe they do it all the time, who knows how much experience they have. But they have great feedback, so I'm going to be able to fix it. But, there's a bit of static during the wintertime, so it may be my static environment. I run a humidifier, but it's possible that the static was a culprit. I was actually playing the Xbox One X quite a bit. But you also remember the Xbox 360 with the red ring of death. So there was that. We know what that is, the overheating. So when they push these systems and they get that high number, you got to wonder, is it going to be like putting boost on a small engine? Is it going to tear up the tranny? Is the head gasket going to pop? So longevity is an issue. If you have a game system that ran really good for a year and a half and then it's broken or breaks right outside of the warranty, you don't have any frames per second after that happens. The hardware longevity is not always a huge focus on reporting. Now, if you want to talk about a leader in the gaming space, PC is the leader because everything can happen. If you want VR, you get VR. If you want backwards compatible, guess what? It's compatible. I mean, seriously compatible. You can take an old game like Quake. It's a million years ago, and Unreal and all that, and you can play them today, and you can put the graphics, you can get 700 frames a second. So, with the backwards compatible, that's neat, but it's almost like you can play a game if we say you can. If it's in our library, and it's quite the ecosystem that's very closed. So they get you in with the low price on the hardware, but there are downsides. I mean, if you like VR, you can get a Dell headset that's 1400 pixels by 1400, and that's higher than the PSVR, and it's cheap right now, and it's inside out tracking. So I really actually look forward to the PSVR. I kind of feel like, and I hope that they don't lower the specs on that. I hope that that's up there, and it's a good version of VR because I like their solutions. I liked the last one. You get the aim controller. You don't get that on PC. There's certain things. It's nice when Sony does something that you cannot get on PC, and it's worth having. It's not just boxing you out. Well, you have to be here, so it's not like that. It's like it's compelling. Where else would you want to be? You have the motion controller. That controller where you can use it as a steering wheel, it didn't get supported as much as it should, but in the games that it did get supported in, it's a knockout. I mean, you just can't get that on PC. So I'm kind of backtracking on what I just said. PC is the most competitive. It is in most regards, but then things like that make Sony actually the most competitive. So I really hope they do that again this year, and especially with maybe some type of a hybrid transaction on the games where, yes, you download a patch, and yes, but that's the working patch that brings the information in when you need it. That would be awesome. I don't know if they're going to do that, but it seems like, why would you have a smaller hard drive when the games are getting bigger and bigger, and then you go down? That doesn't make sense to me. I can only imagine that Sony would do that smartly by it being some type of a hybrid system. Now, if they did that just to cheap it out and to get it into then that was another way for them to do that. Just to get the price down or something, maybe. But what we got to think about on the prices is this is $399 in 2020. This is $499 in 2020. This could be $699 in 2020. That's a whole lot different than in 2010 or 2000 because of inflation. Inflation is between 3 and 6% a year because they're printing money, and then they steal value that way. So every time, if you put $50,000 in the bank and wait 30 years till retirement, it's not going to be worth value-wise what it was today. So every year we are diluting the system, and every year $3.99 is less and less. $3.99 today is like $2.99 just 15 years ago. Because look at the minimum wage, look at the price of gas, look at how much everything, the value of things, the number keeps going up and the value keeps going down. So if they're having a hard time hitting $3.99, I can see that. But $3.99, if they were at $3.99, they would sell them like hotcakes because people would be able to buy them. They would just, even when they didn't really want to buy a console, like, I'm saving up for a console. Well, I'm going to buy the PS5 now. Well, aren't you saving for a console? Yeah, I'm going to keep saving for a console. But I just bought the PS5 just because it was affordable. I didn't even really spend that much. So it's going to be, if they hit $3.99, they're going to fly off the shelves. $4.99, it's just, it's not about whether or not you can afford it. It's what else you can buy with $499. That's what it comes down to. There's a lot of other competitors. There's GPUs on the market. You could, once you start getting a 4, 5, and 6, 7, you're halfway to a screaming computer, and they're going to come out with the 3080 series. They're actually competing with themselves. AMD is competing with themselves all over the place, which is why I think NVIDIA should get into the console space. Neo Geo. That's what I think. Where is Neo Geo? If NVIDIA got into the console space and teamed up with the likes of, say, Neo Geo or something, and came out with an $1,800 PC/video game system that was just out of this world, something that they would have to bribe developers to make games for. I don't think it would make any money, but it would probably kick the heck out of some of the consoles. I think both systems are going to do really well, though, and the presentation does have some part of it. When they announce these things, it does kind of sway you a little bit, and it kind of makes you feel like, which crowd am I going to be in? On the street, who's going to have which one, and because it's like that with clothing, it's like that with shoes, and it's kind of, sometimes it can be a little too bad, but it's just the way it is. But when Sony is just competitive as heck on what they're making, then everybody buys it and they don't feel bad about it. But I feel like Mark Cerny, I feel like he was presenting his baby. Mark Cerny, I think he's a really smart person. He cares deeply. He's devoted his life to this, and I am in great gratitude. I think we all, if you spend any time with your video game system, it's truly, the technical side of it is just beyond most people, because we haven't devoted our lives to it and we don't know what they know. So Mark Cerny, it kind of seemed like the PS5 is his baby, and it's being born right now, and it means a lot to him. You can see it, and when you present it and all the technical specs, it kind of seems like it'd be nice if they have someone who is a little more blunt and gruff and put a bonnet on the baby and say, hey, here's our new baby, this is her name, and there she is. And it would just, I think it would be a little bit better for the consumer to a consumer presentation would have been nice, more than a technical. The technical specs, like major things, like how many teraflops it has, those should be brought to the consumer, because that's the end all be all. And most of the developers, I think they already know. So why would we be bringing that up to them now? Don't they have dev kits? So it's a little bit this way and that. But Sony was a market leader. They do sell to the entire planet, though, and Xbox does not. Some people will not buy from Xbox. A lot of people will buy from PlayStation. So while it's 50-50 in America, Xbox and PlayStation sales-wise, worldwide, the PlayStation sells in a lot of areas. And, Japan doesn't buy a whole lot of Xboxes because the PS5 is a Japanese product. Now, America, maybe we could be that way a little bit, but for some reasons, we're not. The PS5 and the Xbox Series X are both announcing specs that are going to have to hold their place for the next 3-4 years, at least, until they come out with a Pro or something. So the PC is going to be able to get all kinds of graphics cards, and they're going to be competing with consoles to be better. So as much as right now it kind of beats the average computer, in 3 to 4 years, when the PS5 is really getting traction, I don't know if it'll be that way. I think the PC could double. It could be twice as fast and have new features and new VR, and anything could happen. Everybody gets to decide what kind of life they want to live. But the PS5, it actually fits the bill for a lot of people, because what you get is an excellent value. A lot of people will say, well, PC has more players, and that may be true, but it's almost like saying consoles have more players if you count all of the PS3s, all of the PS2s, all of the PS4s, all of the Xboxes. I almost feel like console would have more players. And that's essentially what you're getting with the PC side, is a very variable rate of performance. There's all kinds of PCs out there, and a lot of them, if you're going to say a dual core system with a 1 gigabyte graphics card is a legitimate PC player, and that's going up against, that's a competitor as far as numbers for the amount of players. Lastly, Mark Cerny announced his 3D audio solution that they're working on to basically make the sounds very real and have a location, kind of like in real life. And they even want to adapt the system to different ear types. So they're really going into a lot of depth on how to make it sound the same for everyone, so that it sounds as though it would in real life. So I think that may tie into VR. I'm hoping so. I actually am a VR enthusiast. I almost feel guilty when I don't play VR. Like, I have an Xbox One X, and I actually like it a lot. It has really good graphics, and I play it on a projector, so it's kind of like VR. But there's certain days that VR really takes the cake. There's just every couple weeks, I just play a little bit of VR, and I just go, wow, how is that not taking off? I think a lot of it may be that it makes people sick, and I think a lot of the games are extremely intense. Like, they put you in there, and it's life or death. How would you like it if you walked outside and you put a helmet on, and all of a sudden people were coming out all over the place trying to kill you, and you had to shoot them to death? I mean, that's an intense thing, and it's very real looking in the headset. As far as the dimensional aspect of it, you have 3 dimensions. All these people are coming at you. You see bullets. You think like a missile goes by and there's smoke on it or something. I mean, you see it in 3 dimensions. So I think it would be nice if they had a little bit more like just things people want to do with their lives. Even if you can afford a Lamborghini, you're only getting one Lamborghini. There's nobody that's going to allow you to go from Lamborghini to Maserati, and you're going to go to an F1 car. I mean, it's just not going to happen in a matter of minutes. Once society realizes their entire life is man-made, from going to McDonald's to driving down the road to getting into their car, everything is basically a texture. I mean, granted, we have actual gravity and you can't go through the floor, but that's all designed into the PlayStation VR as well. So a lot of things you might want to do with your life, you can come home and do them in just a matter of minutes. You can dial it up, basically. And it's almost cheating the system, that's true. But, people probably said that when you were on the phone originally. When the phone came out, hey, you're cheating the system. You're supposed to have to walk over there. And then the TVs, hey, you're cheating the system. You're not supposed to be able to see the mountains without going there. But now we're like, hey, it's just a picture, So I think VR is going to go down the same road where it's like, hey, you're not supposed to be able to sit in a Maserati if you don't have the money for a Maserati. But then it's like, hey, I get to sit in a Maserati, a Lamborghini. I get to play in an F1 car, And if they do the flight simulators correctly, hey, I get to get in a Cessna. I get to L-39, a Learjet. A jumbo jet. I can even crash them, and nobody cares. So there's actually, and it's all man-made. So everything that everybody wants in the world is man-made. The phones are man-made. McDonald's is man-made. The roads to get between everything is man-made. The cars are man-made. Everything. The only thing that isn't is nature, and people are over it. So VR is going to take off, and it's going to be an awesome day when everybody knows it. And I think Sony sees it and knows it, and so far in the last generation they conquered it, and I hope this generation they do as well, and I hope I'm not wrong. I really feel like we could be responsible with it, though. You see those movies where people are doing this vaping, and then they're putting on these experiences. They have electrodes on their head, and it just seems like kind of a sick, twisted reality where it shouldn't be. It's kind of I don't know, Cyberpunk 2077, I guess. I'm not sure, but I think it could be used. So far, they're using it for good first. It seems like they're using it for training. They're using it for manufacturing, and I think they're doing that on purpose so that the initial stigma is for good. So that 3D audio thing, that's going to be a help in VR. But I think overall it's going to be a help. I actually got to say, the sounds really set the tone. The music, like in Horizon Zero Dawn, when you set the controller down and you walk to the kitchen and you can hear it, and it's just, there's no enemies hitting you right now, but you can hear the game. And on a Saturday night, it really sets the tone for a good life. A lot better than like Netflix or Amazon Prime or anything like that. If you have someone that you can pass the controller to and go get a snack and they're playing, or you set it down and it just does its default thing for a while, the sounds of music are a big deal. And during the game also, especially, of course, but there's certain times when the music really, it can capture emotion. PlayStation and Sony are an awesome brand, and I look forward to their offering, and I hope it is affordable. If not, I'll wait and it'll get more affordable. Well, that's all I have today on the PS5. Of course, Mark Cerny will have a lot more in the future. I look forward to any more reveals. I actually kind of am curious about what it looks like, although it doesn't mean a whole lot to me. It would be interesting to see what kind of form factor they decided on. And I would be really, really keen on seeing when Horizon Zero Dawn 2 comes out. If they want to polish it for the next 5 years, I say do it. Go ahead. But if you're deciding to come out with it sooner and you have it done, that's awesome. If it's not done, I don't want to see it though, because that's a game that really was revolutionary, and it defined the PlayStation for me. I mean, you could have that game and that PlayStation, and it would be almost worth the money, just because of who you can play it with and how much fun you can have. Needless to say, I think Horizon Zero Dawn was an excellent game. I really look forward to the sequel. Although I got to say, some of these video game companies, they overdo the sequels. I almost feel like Horizon Zero Dawn can never be done again correctly, because the original is the original. It will always be the original. So unless they really do something special, I think people are going to lean back to the original and say, this was a really good game. And that really makes the PlayStation 4 special for all of time, basically. I always think it's a good idea to have new games that aren't being rehashed over and over with the same ideas, which is why Horizon Zero Dawn was so nice. And it was a good timing. In the middle of the generation, PS4 Pro came out. You could get 4K. We played through it once in the 1080p, and now we're playing it again in 4K on a projector, and it's just amazing. So, but what made it special is that it wasn't a sequel to something. It was brand new, and it was innovative, and it was really neat. So I think that is what I hope PS5 is going to be looking forward to doing more of. As they say, that first person, the single player story-driven games are going to be their focus. So that concludes my video. I want to let you know about my eBay store, GB Hatchery. I'll leave a link in the description. You can buy from me anytime. Like and subscribe as always, and you will see me in the next video. say you're watching some streaming video and then all of a sudden you want to play video games, or someone walks in that wants to play video games. You can quickly load that game and be playing games within a matter of seconds.